Hello everybody, you've tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover Making a Murderer, Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. I cover some other cases at times. I go over the documents, the photos, videos, anything case related. Plenty of videos you can check out, just like the one you're about to see. Hello everybody, how you doing? We're here today talking about two things really. One thing is the danger of stair lifts and how you should be maybe looking out for some of your elderly relatives that you know that have these stair lifts in their house. There's an article here that'll be in the information down below that all of you can go and check out if you like. I'm going to show you some parts of it here because in this article, the daughter of the person who fell down the stairs, the daughter made the accident scene picture public for a reason, because she wanted to make other people out there aware that these stair lifts, can be dangerous when they get old, and she really wants to see this not happen to somebody else down the line, at least. So I want to help her pass on that message, and then I want to talk on the second half of this video about that actual photo and some of the things that strike me about it and the crime scene photos of the Peterson residence, the stairway. But first I want to help Miss Maureen O'Connor get her message of awareness out there, so that other people don't have to suffer what she did and her mother, and so that their elderly relatives don't have to suffer what her mother suffered. So we're going to go ahead and get into it right now so you can see what Maureen O'Connor is wanting to pass along here, and then we'll go ahead and at the second half move into what I said before. So here we go. Now, this is the scene where they found Catherine Scullion at the bottom of her staircase after falling. It basically had just stalled halfway down, 12 steps up. It had stalled, and she was just stuck in it. She couldn't go anywhere. She couldn't get it going again. And after some time, she was just going downstairs to get a cup of tea. She had woken up, and then she just was going to get a cup of tea, and it stalled 12 steps up. And after a while, she was getting cold. She tried to get out of the chair and get down herself, out of the chair, and when she tried to get out of the chair, she fell and she hit her head several times going down, and the doctors, clearly, not knowing what had happened, thought they were looking at the victim of a machete attack. Frail Catherine Scullion was so badly injured that surgeons thought she had been a victim of a machete attack. A machete attack, that's interesting, because machete is an edged weapon, and that would lead me to believe there's a lot of cutting and slices on Catherine's head. I have not been able to find pictures yet, but hopefully soon I might be able to find some pictures of the injuries to be able to compare them to Kathleen Peterson. Anyway, now her distraught family are suing the local council, claiming the 16-year-old machine should have been replaced. It's talking about a stair lift that took Miss Scullion up and down the stairs because she was quite old, and so she needed the assistance of the stair lift, basically just a chair that rides on a track up the stairs. They say the technician who inspected the lift told them Catherine's device was a dinosaur. And at the time, when they probably heard the technician saying that, they probably were like, okay, at least it still works, kind of thing. Paperwork for its removal 6 months after Catherine's death show it was scrapped due to age and condition. Catherine's daughter, Maureen O'Connor, said that the family had been shattered by her mom, how her mom died. This is a sad situation, obviously, and this council it claims that there was nothing wrong with the stair lift, that it was that it was fine, and that's why it hadn't been replaced. Basically, there was nothing wrong with it, so we don't need to investigate this any further. It's basically not our fault. And yet 6 months after her death, they decided that it was it was, basically old and needed to be replaced. So that's pretty alarming. Catherine's daughter, Maureen O'Connor, this is the important thing, folks, and this is what I want to make sure everybody understands and gets the message here, said that the family has been shattered by how her mom died. The pensioner, who lived in New Stevenston, Lanarkshire, suffered terrible scalp injuries, broke her neck in 2 places, and died 11 days later in the hospital. The former dinner lady had got up in the night to make a cup of tea. Maureen says that she wants to publicize this case and so other families check on stair lifts at the homes of elderly relatives. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody here. That Maureen O'Connor, Catherine Scullion's daughter, decided to share these pictures and these of the accident scene and everything, so that other people would be moved to check on their elderly relatives if they have a stair lift, and make sure that do some checking on it, make sure it's not prone to stall like this one did after so many years of operation. Make sure that just do some checking on it to make sure that it's a solid thing, and if it starts to show signs of problems, you want to definitely address them quickly, because you don't want to end up with one of your elderly relatives in a situation that Catherine Scullion was in, where the whole thing just stalled 12 steps up. And if you're in the situation where you need one of those lifts, then the thing is when you're in that chair, you are in that chair until it gets either to the bottom or the top. Because if you can't really negotiate the stairs very well, it's very difficult for you to negotiate your way out of that chair and down to the stairs and try to go down the stairs. So it's you get stranded. So it's important, I think, and I wanted to go ahead and echo that so that Maureen O'Connor, her message here really comes across. And then I want to show you guys what ultimately happened with this local council that decided that nothing was wrong with this lift. All right, so this is Maureen O'Connor quote here. "If one good thing can come out of my mom's terrible death, it would be that people will check stair lifts that councils replace out-of-date machines. Check stair lifts and that councils replace out-of-date machines." And I agree. The family's lawyer, Victoria Aquino of Thompson Solicitors, said, "What the family have been through is heartbreaking. They miss her terribly and are traumatized by the way she lost her life. The people in charge of North Lanarkshire Council need to take a long, hard look at themselves and consider their conduct towards this family responsibility in death of Catherine." North Lanarkshire Council said, "While our sympathies are with Miss Scullion's family for their loss, we don't agree the stair lift was responsible for her death." Yeah, okay. The 3 days before she died, it stalled, or basically stopped at the 3rd step from the bottom. And I'm going to leave the link to this article below for anybody that wants to read the entire article. But 3 days before she died, this thing stalled 3 steps from the bottom. And then here in the middle of the night, basically, it stalls around the 12th step. And she ends up falling to her death. And they're saying that they don't think the stair lift was responsible. Let me ask this question. If she, say, had some money, or some of her relatives had some money, and they just cared about her, and they wanted to bring in somebody to check out the stair lift or replace it with a different one, would the council allow that? Let me ask another question. If she had just sat there in the chair all night, and just bit it, and even though she was bitter cold, and that's what motivated her to try to get out of the chair. But if she had just sat there and bit the bullet the entire night, and her granddaughter would have came in and found her sitting in that chair, what would the council have had to do then? What would have been the council's responsibility at that point? Would the chairlift that left her stranded at the 12th step have been a matter to be concerned about then? So yeah, I mean, the way I see it, this thing malfunctioning falls in their lap no matter what, because I'm pretty sure that even if they tried to bring in somebody else and replace the lift with one that they trusted, or even tried to do something like that, I'm sure the council would not allow it. And so I can't see how this is anybody but the Lanarkshire Council's responsibility. So this is amazing to me. So I wanted to go ahead and pass along Maureen O'Connor's message, and so everybody can be aware that you really need to be considered. Be concerned about the lifts that your elderly relatives use to get up and down the stairs in their homes and stuff like that. Obviously, this is in Britain or over in England and stuff, but I see those chair lifts all the time in homes, because I work in people's homes installing speakers and certain AV equipment and things like that. So I see a fair amount of places, and I see these lifts here in America, obviously. So I just wanted to pass that message along for everybody to be concerned, and if those lifts start to show any sign of malfunction, you want to get on that. Okay, so that's the message of awareness from Maureen O'Connor, the mother of Catherine Scullion, who unfortunately died ultimately of this fall down the stairs. Now, as I said before, the reason why I saw this particular article is because how similar the photo is to the Peterson staircase. There's just, to me, a great deal of similarities to them, and to the description, as you saw, of the wounds, where they thought she had been subjected to a machete attack. That leads me to believe there were slices and cuts and breaks in the skin, right? So that's what kind of got my attention on this. So what I want to go through now is just like how similar they are. So we're going to go ahead and look at it now, and we'll see what you think, and we'll come on back. So I'm going to try and see what I can do and see if I can find what the injuries were to Catherine Scullion's head. But I also will completely understand if the family is not releasing that kind of stuff. I'll be perfectly understanding of that. But in the interest of trying to get an idea of what's happening, because when I look at this here, this looks a lot like what it looked like in the stairway at the Petersons. The way the blood is faint and kind of faded and then dark in some places, and here, let's look at a side-by-side comparison. So on the left, we're looking at Catherine Scullion's accident scene there. On the right, we're looking at the Peterson staircase murder scene. These pictures look an awful lot alike to me. I mean, even the way that some of the blood is like faded, where the state tried to claim there was a cleanup or something. I see similar to that in the Catherine Scullion photo there. So, I keep finding more and more questions, and all I can say is I don't know whether or not Michael Peterson did this, and I'm certainly not saying he's innocent. But when I look at this, this is the third staircase fall that I have been made aware of since I watched The Staircase. Obviously, the one that happened in Germany in '85 in the documentary. Then there's Kathleen Peterson herself, and then now this one that all have the same similar marks, same similar things. And I certainly know that Michael Peterson wasn't at Catherine Scullion's house. So I mean, so this is the question that is raised in my mind, and why I feel it needs to be figured out how Kathleen got those injuries. To me, I need to know how. I need to know how those injuries occurred, because it's hard for me to see any big difference between what happened with Kathleen than Catherine, or in 1985 in Germany, over there. So I mean, it's just very, very, very similar when I look at these, and I just thought I'd point it out because, like I said, you can see all that faded kind of areas where that's what the prosecution or Durham was claiming was like a cleanup. Well, I'm sure Michael Peterson wasn't here trying to clean up Catherine Scullion's bottom of her staircase. So the striking similarities here are certainly being noted by me. But like I said before, I am by no means saying that Michael Peterson is 100% innocent. I am not. That's all I'm pointing out, is that there's questions, and all I'm saying is that I am resolved to look further into these questions and to get a real beat for what happens in staircase falls, because I'm seeing evidence that they can be pretty bad even when there's no foul play involved, as we see with Catherine Scullion's accident scene here. So that's the one question that is raised in my mind when I look at these. So, you can make your own assessment looking at those pictures, but to me, they look very similar to each other. And Catherine Scullion's was an accident. There's no denying. So it's hard, and like I said, the walls at Catherine Scullion's, they had that where some of it looked faded, and then there was more dark blood and all that sort of stuff. Looks just like you see it on the wall in this Peterson stairwell. So it's like, I'm like, well, okay. Obviously, that's not from cleanup, because nobody tried. Nobody tried to clean up Catherine Scullion's, accident scene there before investigators showed up and took that picture. So that's. The fact that they look so similar has now, got me thinking again. Like, okay, what happens in a staircase accident? Because there seems to be evidence that it can be bloody and that cuts to the head are common, or at least probable, or, the odds are not minuscule, I guess, that it occasionally will happen, because we're certainly seeing a few, occasions of it. So I don't know, like I said, and the reason why I can look at this Catherine Scullion thing and see it as objective is because I know there's no way that Michael Peterson was involved with that, and so therefore, looking at that scene and comparing it to the Peterson scene, it's just a rational way of saying, does this scene look like it got cleaned up? No, I don't think so, because it looks just like this one. So yeah, that's mainly what I wanted to say here today about the staircase. And as of course, wanting to pass on Maureen O'Connor's message and her desire to make people aware that these stairway chairlifts can be dangerous. Take an interest, so that your elderly loved ones don't end up, like her mom did, and that sort of thing. So that's about it for today, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.